Benjamin Impossible. Chapter 26. 20,000 Leagues Over the Sea. Benjamin and Lemon Time sat in the darkness of their marshmallow spaceship and drifted up into the sky, feeling only the gentle rocking of the balloon around them. They both turned on their suits' flashlights, which illuminated the empty pocket of gas they sat inside. The foam completely blocked outside light, so they sat in the glow from their spacesuit helmets and looked at each other. "You know what?" Benjamin said. "I feel like a Mexican jumping bean right now." Lemon Time raised an eyebrow. "Why is that? You feeling jumpy?" Benjamin laughed. "Mexican jumping beans are little beans that contain a live moth larva inside. The larva moves around, making the bean jump. Eventually, the larva eats its way out and transforms into a moth." Benjamin pointed at the white walls around them. "This floating spaceship is like a giant bean, and we are the worms trapped inside. Once we get to our destination, we are going to tunnel our way out as well." "Well," Lemon Time thought aloud, "maybe when you emerge from this cocoon, you'll have metamorphosed into a kid who's slightly less annoying." Benjamin chuckled. "Well played, Lemonhead. You are a funny guy." "How long until we reach the marble minefield?" Lemon Time asked. "Oh, it will be about 10 minutes until we reach the Carmen line, then another 10 minutes until we hit the marble minefield itself." "What is the Carmen line?" Lemon Time asked. "The Carmen line occurs 62 miles above sea level. At that height, Earth's atmosphere essentially ends, and we will be floating in vacuum with no air. We won't reach the marble minefield until we reach low Earth orbit. That's about 100 miles up. How far beyond that is Dr. Glockenspiel's submarine?" "Oh, that's not for another 20,000 miles further on." "Holy smokes!" Lemon Time exclaimed. 20,000 miles! It will take forever to get there." Benjamin nodded his head. "Yeah, we'll probably be stuck inside this little spaceship for 4 or 5 more weeks. That's why I brought movies and board games. Do you play backgammon? We could be the first people to play backgammon in space." Lemon Time looked around the cramped cubbyhole in panic. "I can't sit inside this marshmallow for a month." Benjamin laughed. "I'm just kidding, Lemonhead. We'll reach the submarine in 4 hours. We are going to pick up speed once we start our orbital approach." "Thank goodness," Lemon Time said, his heart slowing down. "I can't imagine hanging out with you for a whole month." "Hey," Benjamin complained, "that's no way for a sidekick to talk." "I am not a sidekick," Lemon Time replied emphatically. "Oh, sure you are," Benjamin said with a smile. "Every superhero has a sidekick. Batman had Robin and Sherlock Holmes had Dr. Watson. Even Han Solo had Chewbacca to help him fly the Millennium Falcon." "Hey," Benjamin said with sudden insight, "we're in a spaceship right now. I'm like Han Solo and you're kind of like Chewie." "I'm still not a sidekick and I'm definitely not a space monkey." Benjamin punched the spongy wall in frustration. "I should have named this little ship the Millennium Marshmallow. What was I thinking?" Benjamin leaned forward and pointed at the captain. "Mission change, Captain Lemon Time. From this point forward, this spacecraft will be called the Millennium Marshmallow. Got it?" Lemon Time rolled his eyes. "Whatever, kid. Get a grip." 20 minutes later, they were both gripping the ropes around them. By Benjamin's calculations, they had entered into low Earth orbit and were being pelted by marbles. The ship vibrated as marbles struck. The entire ship seemed to wobble and spin. With no visual point of reference, neither spacesuited figure could tell if they were spinning or flying upside down, so they held on tightly to the ropes. The powerful strikes caused the soft foam to tremor, and every impact created a boom that they could hear and feel. It sounded like a bag of microwave popcorn going off inside their space helmets. "How much more of this do we have?" Lemon Time complained. "I'm getting a headache. Just a few more minutes." There was an explosion in their compartment, and Captain Lemon Time screamed. "Ah, I'm hit!" "Where?" Benjamin asked. He had a difficult time seeing. One of the marbles had punched through the ship, and jagged pieces of foam and broken glass floated around them. "Right leg!" Lemon Time gasped. "I think my suit is punctured." Benjamin quickly checked Lemon Time's vital signs on his heads-up display. "Don't be silly, Captain. If your suit punctured, you'd be dead by now from vacuum decompression." "I'll decompress you," Lemon Time grunted. "I thought this contraption was supposed to be bulletproof." Benjamin knelt down to examine Lemon Time's leg with his light. "Mostly bulletproof, Captain. That marble must have hit a gas pocket and penetrated deeper than the others. Good thing the foam slowed it down, otherwise the marble would have just blown your entire leg off. How bad is it? Lemon-Time asked, panting quickly. Benjamin inspected the spacesuit and checked Lemon-Time's onboard diagnostics. Good news. You only lost a foot. I can seal up the stump with superglue and epoxy. When we get back to Earth, we can fit you for a prosthetic. Benjamin had a thought. Hey, we could just get you a peg leg and call you Lemonbeard the Pirate. Holy moly, Lemon-Time said, hyperventilating. My foot is gone. I can't feel anything down there. Relax, dude. I'm just joking. The marble hit you in the foot, but it didn't penetrate the boot. I think your ankle is broken, though. Does this hurt? Lemon-Time screamed and punched the foam wall next to him. Good, Benjamin said. That means the nerves are all working fine. I'm going to lock that leg of your spacesuit. The servos will freeze and immobilize the joint just like a hard cast. I'll also turn the temperature down in your leg to minimize swelling. Benjamin leaned his head forward and manipulated the joystick control in his helmet, searching for options that might help. Captain, it looks like NASA installed a few medicines into the life support system. If you turn your head to the right, you'll find a small pill dispenser with a Tylenol inside. I suggest you swallow that and take a sip of water from the straw below it. They don't have anything stronger in this suit? Benjamin nodded. Sure. They've included a narcotic and a muscle relaxer, but I'm hesitant to prescribe it. We need you to keep your wits about you. Also, that narcotic might make you nauseous, and the last thing we need is a helmet full of puke when we hit zero gravity. Just freaking great, Lemon-Time muttered. I'm already wounded and we haven't even reached the battle yet. A few minutes later, the impact slowed down, and eventually they stopped altogether. Benjamin decided they had made it through the marble minefield, and that it would be safe to exit the ship. We've passed the first hurdle. We've made it through the deadly marbles. Now it's time to exit this marshmallow. Do we cut our way out? Lemon-Time asked. As an experiment, he punched the inner wall of the ship. Despite his mechanically augmented strength, Lemon-Time's gauntleted fist bounced right back. The foam wall had a fist-sized dent, but otherwise looked unharmed. Benjamin shook his head. No, I've made a solvent that reacts with the aerated plastic. Before we do anything, however, we need to check our bearings. The boy reached into a suit pocket and pulled out a quarter. Holding it outward in his hand, he let go, and the coin fell to the bottom of their little chamber. Okay, Benjamin said, pointing toward the coin. That direction is down. Lemon-Time held his hands up. Wait a second. I thought we would be floating in space by now. Why aren't we weightless? We would be weightless if we were in deep space or orbiting around the planet, Benjamin explained. Aren't we in orbit? Lemon-Time asked, surprised. Benjamin shook his head. No. With a traditional space launch, a rocket circles the Earth at high speed. Gravity pulls on the rocket, but it travels sideways so fast that it never hits the ground. The rocket enters a never-ending freefall, and the astronauts can move as if they are weightless. Benjamin pointed around them. We did not launch into orbit, Captain. Hyperhelium floated us straight up to hover several hundred miles from the ground. Earth's gravity still pulls on us at this distance. If we step out of the Millennium Marshmallow unprepared, we will fall back to Earth again. Well, just great, Lemon-Time muttered. I thought I was going to get to be weightless. Benjamin grinned. Just be patient. I'm turning on the hyperhelium in our spacesuits so we can float. Once we start our orbital trajectory, we'll be weightless for real. Now let's make an escape tunnel. Benjamin felt along the foam wall, then began to dig at the white surface. Pieces of foam ripped off as he worked. Eventually, he hit a hard object. It was one of the plastic buckets that they had brought with them. Clearing away the surrounding foam, Benjamin eventually pried the bucket out of the wall. He balanced the tub between his knees and tore off the watertight lid with his gloves. Inside, clear fluid boiled, frothy bubbles spilling over the edge. "Watch your feet!" Benjamin called out as he tipped the bucket over. Lemon-Time jumped up in surprise as the boiling liquid poured out of the bucket and pooled at the bottom of their little cell. Immediately, the foam floor of their chamber disintegrated as the fluid boiled over it. The bubbling fluid quickly disappeared as the liquid ate its way deeper into the floor of their ship. "Whoa!" Lemon-Time asked. "What is that stuff, some kind of acid? You could have given me some warning before you melted my feet off for real." Benjamin looked down the new tunnel with his flashlight. You were perfectly safe, Lemon Baby. That bucket was filled with paint thinner that you helped liberate from the hardware store. The acetone spirits break down the walls of the marshmallow foam in the same way that nail polish remover melts styrofoam. Why is the liquid boiling? Lemon asked as he looked down the hole. Did you heat it up first? Benjamin shook his head. No, that liquid was quite cold. The boy pointed at a small hole in the wall. The marble that injured your foot punched a hole all the way through our ship. This allowed the gas in this chamber to vent out into space. We are currently in a vacuum. Benjamin held up the bucket. This acetone is boiling because of the vacuum, not because it is hot. The liquid is actually cool to the touch. There is still some in this bucket if you want to touch it before it boils away. I'll just take your word for it. Benjamin knelt down at the large hole in the floor and peered over the edge with his helmet's flashlight. The new tunnel seemed to travel all the way through the marshmallow foam and looked wide enough to crawl through. Bending over, Benjamin climbed down into the new passageway, head first. He inched his way down until the tunnel stopped abruptly at a smooth fabric wall. This was the fabric that made the outer walls of the Red Zeppelin's balloon. On the other side of this final layer would be space. Awesome! Benjamin radioed back. The acetone went all the way through to the outer wall of the balloon before boiling away. I'm going to cut through the final layer. Benjamin turned on the power shield mounted to his arm and cut a flap through the fabric. As he pushed the material back, bright light illuminated the tunnel from outside. He poked his head out and looked around. The Millennium Marshmallow had made it to space all right. In front of Benjamin was planet Earth, rotating slowly, the horizon curved in the distance. You have got to see this, Captain. You can see the entire country. Benjamin spent a few minutes widening the escape hole, and eventually Lemon climbed out to enjoy the view as well. The outer fabric layer of the Millennium Marshmallow was riddled with holes where marbles had struck it. Despite this superficial damage, the soft-sided spaceship had come through the ordeal in good shape, and Benjamin was pleased with the outcome. With great care, Benjamin and Lemon unpacked their supply buckets from inside the foam interior and lashed them to the outside of the ship's hull. Both of their spacesuits were buoyant and allowed them to float around the Millennium Marshmallow in relative safety. The plastic supply buckets were heavy, however, so they were careful to keep them from falling overboard. The next step of their journey was to get Noah operational. Benjamin dragged the robot out of the ship and turned him on. After a quick bark-up sequence, the robotic dog looked around and wagged its tail with pleasure. Noah looked entirely different now. Benjamin had gutted many of his internal systems to make room for rocket fuel. His original dog legs had utilized turbojet propellers to fly through the air. Those wouldn't work in space, so Benjamin had replaced Noah's legs with rocket boosters. These would pump out rocket propellant at extremely high velocity and push the robot through the vacuum of space. With Lemon help, Benjamin pulled a long steel pipe out of the spacecraft's interior. Using his suit-enhanced strength, Benjamin rammed this pipe into the side of the ship, the metal tube sliding deep into the foam before stopping firm. Okay, what's that metal pipe for? Captain Lemon asked. This is our marshmallow stick. I connect Noah to the free end, and he pushes the Millennium Marshmallow through space. Lemon tried to scratch his head, then stopped when he realized he couldn't scratch through his helmet. Why have the robot push us like that? Doesn't he have a cable that comes out of his butt? Just attach that cable to the marshmallow and have the robot drag us through space. Wouldn't work, dude. Noah is going to be spitting rocket propellant out of his legs at high speed to propel him forward. If he dragged us behind, that propellant would hit the Millennium Marshmallow and push the ship in the wrong direction. The net effect would be us not going anywhere. Besides, 3 hours of hot rocket exhaust hitting our ship would toast our marshmallow. Benjamin connected the steel pipe to a mount on Noah's chest and locked it into place. We won't have any of those problems with Noah pushing this metal stick. His rocket exhaust will shoot harmlessly out the back. Why such a long pipe? Mechanical advantage. I wanted to give Noah a long lever so that he could rotate and aim the Millennium Marshmallow without using too much fuel. We only have enough rocket propellant to try this trick once. What happens if we miss the submarine and fly past it? Benjamin pursed his lips in concentration. We won't have enough fuel to return to Earth. We'll just float around in space for centuries until aliens find our floating corpses. Yikes! We'll just float out here until we die of starvation? Benjamin laughed. Don't be so bleak, Captain. We won't be hungry. We'll run out of oxygen long before we starve to death. Benjamin went over the astronavigation calculations from his father one last time, then transmitted them to Noah's onboard computer. The robot's 4-jet thrusters flared, and the dog began pushing the Millennium Marshmallow. Are we even moving? I don't feel anything. We are speeding up very slowly, Captain. Noah is accelerating us at 1/10 of Earth's gravity. That may not sound impressive, but in 10 minutes we'll be moving at 1,000 miles per hour. Benjamin checked the chronometer built into his suit helmet. We'll reach the submarine in 3 hours. By then, we should be traveling close to 30,000 miles per hour. Holy mackerel! Lemontime exclaimed. We'll be blown off this ship traveling that fast. Benjamin pointed at the surrounding stars. We're in space, dum-dum. There isn't any air up here to blow us off. No matter how fast we travel, it will feel the same. Benjamin climbed back into the ship and emerged with a couple of folding chairs that he anchored to the balloon's hull. They both sat down to watch the view as Noah flew them through space. Well, this is boring, Lemontime said, propping his injured foot up. Reminds me of the military. Hours and hours of waiting, followed by minutes of sphincter-tightening terror. We have a few hours to kill before any action happens. I brought that game of backgammon if you want to play around. No thanks. Not on my bucket list. Benjamin looked around. We could play the game I Spy. Do you want to play I Spy? Not particularly. Benjamin looked around. I spy with my little eye something black. Lemontime sighed. Is it space? Benjamin grinned. Excellent, Captain. You're a natural at this. Now it's your turn. I think I'm going to pass. Man, you're no fun at all. Lemontime decided to take a nap. His military training had conditioned him to sleep whenever the opportunity allowed. Despite the pain from his ankle, the man drifted off, snoring soundly. Benjamin tied a safety line to the captain's suit so he wouldn't fall off once they lost gravity. Benjamin sat and looked around at the stars. He had never seen them so bright before. Without the obscuring veil of atmospheric haze and light pollution, the view was stunning. One of the lights in the sky was of particular interest to the boy. Glockenspiel's submarine could be seen above him, far outside their current orbit. The submarine looked like a dim star. The only thing differentiating it from real stars was that it moved slowly across the heavens. The boy stared at the spot of light and tried zooming in with his suit's built-in magnifier cameras. Even at maximum zoom, however, Glockenspiel's submarine looked like a fuzzy spot in the firmament. I'm going to catch that star, Benjamin thought to himself. I'm going to bust open that submarine and get Charlie back, too. Benjamin had done some pretty amazing things in his life so far. He had skied down Mount Everest and tightrope walked over an active volcano. He was a kid willing to take risks in the name of science, especially if he could have fun at the same time. This mission was different. The stakes were high, and there were a lot of steps in this plan that could go wrong. If he blew this mission, his brother Charlie would remain a prisoner, and the people of Earth would live under the tyranny of a crazy bald guy. You've reached the end of Chapter 26. Please consider liking this video or leave a comment. Then proceed to Chapter 27, Arts and Spacecrafts.